Let me also welcome Ambassador Kanwal Sibbal onto the broadcast. Ambassador Sibbal, thanks very much for joining us on Times Now. Can I first understand from you your big takeaways from both the opening statements of Prime Minister Modi as well as President Xi Jinping? A lot of emphasis on borders being stable, mutual trust. That word trust is perhaps, something of an irony between India and China.
Well, when you are having this kind of a conversation, which is being recorded and is being publicized, there is nothing much you can say which is sensitive, which actually tells you what are the kind of important decisions that both sides need to take to move the relationship forward. So, Prime Minister has said what we've been saying for a long time, and Xi Jinping has said the same thing. This thing about the elephant and the dragon dancing together is something which Chinese representatives, even on all these TV shows that they come to in India, say the same thing. For months they've been saying this. The importance of Prime Minister's visit is a bit different. One, that the fact that he has gone to China for the SCO Summit itself sends a very strong political message internationally to the Americans in particular, and also domestically. Secondly, this renewal of contact at the highest level will lead to some instructions being given, some guidelines being given down the line on how to move forward, what was agreed to when Wang Yi came here and had talks with the NSA as well as the foreign minister. This will be a slow process, but nevertheless, there will be instructions going down from the top to move the process forward. The third thing in this is that it's come on the heels of the tariffs imposed by the United States, especially the penalties that have been imposed on us. This kind of a trade war that Trump has launched against India. It is a trade war. Okay. And we have a very extensive, expansive relationship with China. Now, we can move more towards China and give more economic openings, but it will depend on how much the Chinese open their market to us. I know that we've been trying for years to have Chinese buy more of our products, but we have not really succeeded. In fact, the deficit has now gone up to $100 billion, which is unsustainable. Now, whether China would be willing to open its market more, there is a question mark.
Okay.
Finally, with regard to this border issue, there's a couple of things. One is that I'm a bit surprised that we're talking about early harvest with regard to border issues, because this is contrary to the 2005 agreement on political parameters and guiding principles for resolving the border issue, which clearly says it will be a package deal. It will be a package deal. Now, when the Chinese talk of an early harvest, they want to settle the border in Sikkim. Whereas, from our point of view, that is not a border. That discussions that need to be reopened with the Chinese, because we know what the demands are, and in fact Doklam was caused because of that. So I think this kind of the contradiction which is there in the kind of announcement we have made needs to be clarified. The other is that in the 5 guiding principles and this and that, in the 2005 guiding principles, it's our intention in including something in that as one of the principles was that the population of the border areas will not be disturbed. The Chinese walked away from that. Now let me, without going into details, let me say very conclusively, the Chinese will not make any territorial concession to India. On top of that, we've seen how they have actually, for the first time, openly colluded with Pakistan during the Operation Sindoor, which is a new thing. Earlier on, we had no information that they were doing this, but this time they did it, and we have said it at the level of our Deputy Chief of Army Staff. So these are the kind of problems that we face with China, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and let's give a message that to the international community, to the Americans in particular, that we have other options. We can move towards consolidating our role in SCO and in BRICS and everything else as an alternative to American-led organizations, because America is now beginning to act very unilaterally. The same phase that they had after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And this is unacceptable.
Okay, Ambassador Sibbal, then let me understand from you, while we're sending out that strong message to Donald Trump and America, and we are facing the kind of secondary tariffs that we have for the purchase of Russian oil, there was also a call between Volodymyr Zelensky and Prime Minister Modi right ahead of, Prime Minister Modi's meeting with Putin. And I want to understand from you, while there are, there are statements being made of how India can be the peacemaker. Being a peacemaker involves a lot. Would India want to get into that role of, helping them carve out territory after territory, who's to go into what? Would India be interested in doing that?
Certainly not. I mean, if Trump fails in this effort, how will India succeed? What are our levers? See, Trump has all the levers.
Yeah.
He is talking directly to Putin. Putin is actually praising Trump for his forward-looking views on relations with Russia. Trump has clearly told the Americans that my engagement with Russia goes beyond the Ukraine issue. He in fact said that I want to wean Russia away from China, a mistake that Biden, he says, committed. And on Ukraine, he has given some hard lessons to Zelensky about what he can expect. No NATO membership, and there has to be territorial concessions by Zelensky.
Yeah.
Zelensky, with the encouragement, full encouragement of the Europeans, is saying very stubbornly that he needs security guarantees, Article 5 type of guarantees, and that there will be absolutely no compromise on territory. Now, with this kind of hardline position, what's the point of his talking to Prime Minister Modi and talking about... Now, again, in his conversation with Prime Minister Modi, he talks about ceasefire, right? But Trump has ruled out a ceasefire. He wants to go straight to a peace agreement. So Zelensky is playing his usual diplomatic games, because in every event, even if it is Eurovision, he projects himself. So since the meeting is taking place in China, he's projecting himself by reaching out to India. We won't mind passing on messages confidentially, as we've done in the past. And if at a certain stage there is a UN resolution, after there is a peace agreement, or peacekeepers on the ground, since Russia has said they're not going to accept Europeans on the ground, then India can think of some role.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it there. Ambassador Sibbal, thank you very much for joining us on Times Now and sharing your perspective. Let's wait and watch how this moves forward, the India-China relationship, as well as the kind of messaging that the entire SCO Summit wants to send to not just Donald Trump, but the entire West. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sibbal. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a short break. News and updates will continue on Times Now.